Welcome to the Daily Breaking News U2 channel. While Russia is suffering huge casualties in many different sections of its army in Ukraine, it is also facing economic sanctions. There is little question that the Russian army's current casualties are among the most severe blows to Russia in the previous century. Economic sanctions, which began to be applied from the beginning of the war, have left Russia in a tough position, and this region is shrinking by the day. As a result of Russia's sanctions and the huge casualties in the Russian army, it is said that the majority of Russian soldiers are no longer eager to fight in Ukraine, and some soldiers even refuse to fight. Similar responses are emerging among the Russian government and people against Putin and his army, as Russian industrial organizations are unable to deliver replacement parts, and many nations refuse to do business with Russian firms. According to reports, as a natural result of this, many residents in Russia were forced to close their shutters at their workplaces. However, these are the short-term impacts of Russia's sanctions, and the impact of economic sanctions on Russia is becoming more apparent by the day, while the United States and NATO have shifted the aim of the most severe penalties towards Putin and his entourage. The penalties imposed by the U.S. Treasury Department last week vary from previous sanctions imposed on Russia and are likely to be Putin's worst nightmare, since the current restrictions directly target the wallets of the Russian elite under Putin. The U.S. Treasury Department said in a statement that it will disrupt critical networks used by Russia's elites, including President Vladimir Putin, to discreetly store and transit money and exploit luxury assets throughout the world. The package release date was announced concurrently with the Russian army's success in the Donbass. This was viewed as the Russian troops sustaining significant damage in several ways, despite evading the Ukrainian armed forces' missiles. According to reports, Russian elites have recently disguised their income and assets in order to avoid sanctions by using clandestine and complicated networks of support. However, as they were discovered, they were subjected to economic sanctions and were dealt a severe blow. Today's action shows that the Treasury can and will go after people who are responsible for preserving and supporting these unjust interests. In reality, we need to analyze the subheadings of these punishments, the statement read. Examine how these recent tough sanctions were imposed, as well as how the Russian aristocracy attempted to conceal their wealth. The United States levied the first punishment on Imperial Yachts, a Kremlin-linked yacht brokerage and sales firm. The company is a brokerage that offers yacht design, yacht sales, and general administration of luxury yachts. The firm, which has offices in Monaco and Moscow, also caters to some of Russia's wealthiest clients. 2 boats in the United States, deemed to be in Putin's interest, were confiscated as part of these measures. The sanctions have the greatest impact on Putin's personal allies and circle. The new penalties are also named for Roldugin, a longtime friend and supporter of Russian President Vladimir Putin, the godfather of one of Putin's children. A friend of Putin's for 40 years suffered from the sanctions. The greatest blow was delivered to a vital site, particularly the Kremlin. It sanctioned numerous prominent Russian government officials, including United Airlines President Terry Slysar. They were all sanctioned. Transport Minister Vitaly Savlev, Economic Development Minister Maxi Reshetnaka, Construction Minister Irek Faisal, and Deputy Prime Minister Dmitry Griforenko were all sanctioned. This is one of the measures that Putin fears the most because, according to Russian officials, Putin is responsible for the loss of the conflict in Ukraine and the economic sanctions that have shaken Russia, and now Putin's chair is rocking Russia. Last Monday, Russian MP demanded that Putin end the conflict. However, following the Russian deputies, Putin earned criticism by removing them from the parliament. Furthermore, by forcefully firing several of his generals, Putin is undermining public and military trust. Many of his comrades have begun to desert him and resign from their positions. On the other hand, Putin does not want to lose the support he now has. However, with sanctions putting pressure on the Kremlin, Putin's inner circle is shifting away from him. Russian billionaires and elites are becoming vocal in their opposition to Putin. However, if Putin loses his staff in this manner, he will be forced to resign. The United Kingdom announced further sanctions against Russian President Vladimir Putin, close circle and family members in a statement, claiming that they were aimed at Putin's financial networks. The sanctions imposed while isolating Putin's inner circle family members and financiers raised the pressure on Putin, who continues his stupid invasion of Putin's ex-wife, Ludmila Akaretna Putin's cousins, Igor Putin, Roman Putin, Mikhail Shermov, and his brother Mikhail Putin were among those sanctioned, according to a statement from the British Foreign Ministry. The United Kingdom, which demonstrated that Putin's modest existence was supported by vast amounts of money, declared that it would target this wealth and maintain sanctions to halt the attacks on Ukraine. Elena Kabava, chairman of the National Media Group, a private Russian media company, and her grandmother, Anna Zatsaplina, were sanctioned, as were Putin's close friends, Alexander Plekov and Mikhail Klishin, Vladimir Kolbin, and Viktor Cameron, who allegedly had a close relationship with Putin. Yuri Shamalov was said to be involved. Economic sanctions imposed by the UK, Russian elites, and the US are forcing them to become anti-Putin. On the other hand, Putin continues to attack any structure that stands in his way in order to consolidate his dictatorship, presenting Putin's criticisms as if they were made in defense of Russian sovereignty. Putin criminalizes those who make them. The British Foreign Office announced that, since the Russian attacks on Ukraine, Russian oligarchs have been targeted, with a total net global value of more than £117 billion, and that over 1,000 people and 100 institutions have been sanctioned. For the time being, global economic and military strategists agree that Russia's president, Vladimir Putin, cannot be stopped. While the Russian army finishes its mission on Ukrainian land, it also disperses and destroys the Russian economy from inside. Even if Putin has planned for this eventuality, it is unknown if the Russian people are willing to be lured into this process under one person's dictatorship. The approaching elections will be a watershed moment for both Russia and Putin, and the influence of economic sanctions on the outcome of these elections is well understood. So, does Russia's president have no choice but to defy the sanctions? Let's work together to find an answer to this question. Dmitry Rogozin, Russia's former deputy prime minister and now the director general of Roscosmos, suggested that, in addition to lowering and raising interest rates and making it more difficult for Russian citizens to access global currencies, Russia could use quantitative easing to relieve pressure on Russian citizens. He stated that Russia would avoid placing more pressure on individuals by printing more money. Rogozin believes they can get around the process by producing money equivalent to the value of the Russian assets now frozen by sanctions. He claimed that when these restrictions are repealed, Russia would be able to sell its assets and return the currency to its previous value. Who believes that this money may be put to good use by moving it to reputable investment projects? It indicates that if this is done, the penalties can be lifted with the least amount of harm. The Russian economy has not yet crumbled under the weight of Western sanctions, but residents are becoming concerned as food prices climb. The intensification of this apparent economic collapse will strengthen opposition to Putin and may destabilize the country's internal harmony. According to Russian data, the Ukrainian occupation has already experienced a 30% drop in recruiting. Quantitative easing can only bring a short respite to an economy that is quickly becoming one of the world's most isolated. If this interim procedure is carried out, it should be viewed as Putin's final attempt at re-election. We hope that the sanctions imposed by the United States and the United Kingdom on Putin's secret pocketbook and those close to him are effective. We hope that the Ukrainian people will soon be able to enjoy the independence, peace, and territorial integrity that they deserve.